Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of the World with Nate podcast. I'm your host, Nate Allison. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Mattress by Appointment Cedar Falls. It's as easy as calling or texting to set up an appointment. Visit the store to find your perfect mattress and take it home that same day. Make sure you let Katie know that I sent you. Well, this next guest, I've had a lineage of time together. We've seen each other at so many different events. But our first introduction was Tate's Army. This is Mary Janssen. She is working with Tate's Army and on the board. And I attended a golf tournament, and we ran into each other first there a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Then, events, Don't Kiss the Babies. And then we go out, I'm eating with Jackson and Caden being your nephew. Yep. And we're walking down Main Street just shooting the shit, and here's Mary right on Main Street. It's like, well, if that's not meant to be.
That's all right.
We had chatted most recently at Spark to Fire, and then we got sidetracked and started talking about childcare, and that is why I have you here today. Now, you are the director of the Children and Family Services at the Iowa, it's so many
letters.
Acronyms, yeah. ICCRR, which is what?
Iowa Child Care Resource and Referral.
Okay, and your job as the Children and Family Services Director, a little brief outline of that.
So Child Care Resource and Referral is a state agency. So there are 5 of us across the state.
Okay.
So here in Region 2, which is what we call Northeast Iowa, the 19 counties in Northeast Iowa that my agency oversees and covers, we basically cover and support child care programs.
Within those
19 counties.
What are some of the big cities inside those 19 counties that listeners might recognize? Waterloo?
Yes, okay. Waterloo. So our regional office is housed here.
Okay.
We have an office in Mason City,
okay.
Decorah, Dubuque, Independence, New Hampton, and Allison.
Holy cow.
And then here in Waterloo, we house our Blackhawk County staff, plus the staff that cover all of the 19 counties.
Gotcha. What brought you into that realm of work? I know we talked about beforehand. You are an elementary education major.
Yes.
Talk about that, because this isn't typical. Usually we would see go into the teacher realm.
Right. I'd be teaching at an elementary school.
Yeah.
Right. So I actually, when I went to college, I worked at a child care center here in Waterloo, and I was the lead teacher for the 2-year-old classroom. I had told you previously I worked retail a little bit for my first couple years in college.
What was your experience?
And really set a goal that I never wanted to work another Saturday in my life unless I actually had to. And all respect to those folks that work retail, because I think of it every time I step into a store, like those are the people, doing that job. So I actually...
but not for you.
No,
knew that.
And they're going to say working with children is crazy, but
heck yeah.
That's okay. So I actually started working at a child care center. I was a 2-year-old lead teacher, left to student teach for the semester, and was offered the director's position at their other sister site in Cedar Falls.
As a young woman coming out of college.
Out of college, 23, 24 years old, thought I knew everything and did not.
Isn't that wild as we grow to see the error of our ways?
Yes. Oh, wow. If I could have that energy back, right?
Heck yeah.
So I was there. I was the director, and it was about a 250, 280 kid site.
So when you're, being that early on and that's your first responsibility and your first job, were you nervous at all taking that? Or you were so gung-ho? What was your feelings?
I think I was a little bit of both. I think I was so excited, as a teacher in the classroom, like you are so narrowed into that, that piece and the kids, but yet as the director, you get to really spread those wings and support the whole program, right? Yeah. So you can be in every classroom, you can support that. So I think I was really excited about it. But I think along with a child care center director's job is so complex. They have so many hats that they have to wear. They have to manage budgets, they have to manage staffing. So you're not only managing all the pieces of the program, licensing, regulations, all that. You're managing the budget and who's paying their bill and who's not.
And the teachers.
And the teachers, who are typically college-age kids.
Yeah.
So I was the boss of kids that were
Peers.
right younger than, exactly, right under me, or quite a bit older than me and had been in the early childhood field. Probably one of the best experiences of my life as to do that job, and has really led me into my path as, the director now of an agency that oversees all child care programs.
Yeah.
And through that job, I get to do a lot of budget, contract management, all that fun stuff. But I also just I get to, it's so much fun. I get to do a lot of community development. So I really get to work alongside of communities to understand their childcare needs. I have amazing staff. I hope they're all listening to this right now. They know that I'm their biggest cheerleader. But because I have 25 amazing women out there doing their job every single day, it allows me to do so much more.
Now, the 25, that's not just here in Waterloo. That's spread throughout 19 counties. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about 25 people over 19 different counties, that's not really that many.
Mm-mm. They're spread pretty thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. But they do a really good job. Many of them worked in childcare. All of them did. I think there's only one of the staff that didn't really come with a childcare background, but she's our data specialist, so she totally just manages all the data, right? Yeah. But I think the rest of us all came from a childcare background in some sense. So we were in the classrooms, or we were a child development home provider, or we did something. And so that when they go out and they're a lot of about 85% of our staff are consultants. So when they're out there consulting with programs, they've done the job. So I think those programs just have that much more respect for them.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier when you've walked the shoes, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What was your, why did you feel a draw? You had mentioned, people might think that retail isn't very much fun, or childcare. Now, 2 and 3-year-olds all day, some people would be like, that sounds insane. What was your push to want to do that? You said you started and you had great mentors. I did, yes.
So in high school, I worked for a child care center. So I went to high school in Ackley, and I worked for a child care center. It was We Care. It was really fun to answer the phone. We care. This is Mary, But a local person owned that program. It was in an old house. It was a 2-story house. We had the school agers upstairs, and we had the rest of the kids on the main level, with a kitchen right in the middle. I can still picture it to this day. And Sue was a huge part of the reason why it drew me into childcare. She ran a very well-run childcare, and she had staff that were long-term. And there was 2 other gals that worked there full-time, Amy and Amy Sill and Amy Wykers were their names. And they were a big part they made it fun. Like, we had a lot of fun together. But I credit so much back to them in the late 90s as far as them showing me the ropes, them teaching me a ton, but also to show, how much fun it is.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was always drawn to children. Church every Sunday. I couldn't wait till my nursery term came up just I could go and play with the kids. Sorry, Mom and Dad, if you're listening to this. But, I was always drawn to children. And I think that they are, watching kids and how they learn and process things, or,
it's insane
and how they can catch on to things and just how they learn and grow. And you can be a part of that. I think is just such a cool thing.
That's an awesome sentiment to hear from someone who has kids. And I want the best care available for them.
Right.
People that really want to be there, not just a job.
Right.
How do you keep your people engaged to know that this is the spot for them? Some people may face burnout. We're looking at, you have said that the child care as a whole, numbers are down. We don't have enough for the amount of kids in our state. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's a national crisis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. First off, at Child Care Resource and Referral, we believe firmly in food. So we know, they know I love to bake. So a lot of times if we've had a rough week, some Mary bars come through those doors or something like that. But I think a lot of it is the working alongside of each other too. And so we do get thrown a lot. You can go out on a visit and our staff are really thrown some really tough situations.
Yeah.
Or there's been a referral from HHS, Iowa Health and Human Services, that we have to, support and deal with. And we're the providers support, definitely. But it can be a tough job.
Heck yeah.
So I think it's a lot of talking through it. What are some resources we can do? And I think it's just, number one, I firmly believe in, let's support our team, and if they want me to go on a visit with them, I'll go on a visit with them, if they're a supervisor, whatever we can do. And then the other thing is professional development. We always are looking for ways to bring things into our staff meetings or send our staff to that helps motivate them and keep them inspired,
Engaged.
But I love to see how my team, even if one person's really struggling with a situation or something, they communicate, they work it out together, they bounce it off each other, and they together problem solve. And I think that speaks the volume to a team and how they can do that. So
Absolutely. Now, you guys assist. What's your role for the families? Families can come to your agency for what?
So we have a free parent referral line.
Okay.
So it's honestly one of, I think, the best kept secrets. A lot of families don't know about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wrote down. Like, there were so many things doing research for this that I didn't know, where it's like, man, I could have used that.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have you here, because these things are no one knows about them until they know about them.
Right.
So resources.
So we have a parent referral department, and it's a statewide group that actually sits in our Davenport office, but they are a parent referral specialist. So there's a group of them. So you can call them
as a parent
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And you can say, I am looking for childcare in Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Okay.
And I need care in April of 2024, let's say, or 2023, depending on the year. And I need care for an infant, and I need care on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, full-time, go from there. They then develop that search for you for programs that have openings.
And this is free?
It's free.
Well, who pays for it?
The state of Iowa.
Okay.
So it's tax, federal, and state dollars that come down to support our whole agency.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the parent on the other line, they call up with their beliefs, what they find, what they value, and you guys match that, or how?
Right. So it's really based on time. What time of day do you need care? Your location.
Yeah.
Also, does the child have any special needs?
Are probably
right. Yeah. Is there anything that they're looking for? Even income. They're going to talk you through, like, okay, are you concerned about not affording childcare?
Yeah.
And they can then talk you through the assistance that's available through the state of Iowa. Then as they generate that search, they're going to send you a list of who could potentially have openings at that time.
Kind of matches.
So you're going to get an email of listing to say ABC Childcare has this opening. Here's their information. From there, then you as the parent call that program. You set up a time to go tour. You talk to either the child development home provider or the center director, and you really as the parent, is this a fit?
Yeah.
Yes. You can also do an online search. So there's a way you go to our website, and you can, once you get to iowaccrr.org, click on families. There is an online search tool. So if it's on the weekend, you can then do your own search, and it saves, and you can come back to it.
Yeah.
As a statewide agency, we're looking at ways to constantly grow that. I mean, we would love to have an app. We would love to have.
So do daycare providers apply for this, or everybody's listed on
Everybody is listed. So if you are a licensed child care center.
What's that look like, licensed against non-licensed?
So a child care center can never be not regulated by the state of Iowa because of the size and the amount of children that they're caring for.
Yeah.
Centers can go anywhere from 25, 30 kids all the way up. So I think the largest site probably in our region, our 19 counties, would probably be around 300 kids.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a whole army of
I know.
little kids.
That's a lot of kids.
If you don't have enough teachers, you're doomed.
Right. Exactly. You see typically around some centers are anywhere from like 80 up to about 150, 180.
Yeah.
That's typical. Some are a little bit higher than that, but it just kind of depends on where they're housed at, if they built, if they remodeled, like what, typically works for them. A child development home is different. So in the state of Iowa, there are several.
These are rules, regulations.
Right. Okay. So a child development home is a registered home provider that is registered through the state, and there's categories. So there's category A, B, C1, and category C. So
Holy cow.
Yeah. So there's and within the category C, you can either have a co-provider, or it depends on the square footage and the size of the home.
Okay.
You could have, more.
So those are qualifications per se.
Right. Yes. Okay. So typically in Iowa, I think we are going to see it be a category B, which is a normal size home with a provider that has experience, but also cares for no more than 8 children at one time.
Okay, so the number of kids is a big factor on these.
Yes. Category A, I believe, is 6 children, no more than 6 children, and then it goes up to 12 and a little bit higher. So 12
kids is the most that a home resident daycare, because that was something that I had wondered, you have 25 kids in this small house.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm sure some of those, you've seen it, I'm sure.
We have, yes. There's also non-registered. So there's two different types of non-registered, which would be a non-registered that accepts childcare assistance. So if you as a family are on assistance through the state to care, you can attend this home, but they have to follow a lot of the same regulations as the child development home.
Okay.
Meaning like background checks, training, those pieces. And then there's non-registered that does not have to check in with the state.
No rules, no laws.
Rule. The only rule is that they can have 5 kids of any age plus 1 school ager. So if they're a non-registered home, they can have 5 plus 1 school ager, so 6 kids total.
To include your own children or no?
Yeah, include your own children.
Oh, dang, I can't have any kids with all the kids I got.
You can't have any more.
No.
You're full.
Yeah.
So that is a big piece of when you look at the landscape of childcare within Iowa. There's also preschool. So, you can see a licensed preschool in, for example, a church setting. Orchard Hill Church has a preschool. I'm very much involved with that preschool. Okay. We've been there, I think, 14 years, but it's a licensed preschool for ages 3 and to 5.
So what is difference between, is there unlicensed preschools? No. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if the kids are in a learning environment in a preschool, there's
it's either a license,
guidance.
Yes, a license, or it's through the Department of Education.
Okay.
So if they're in the school district and they're going to the preschool program, that's a Department of Education program.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. But we would support all of it.
Now, when you say support, like after school care, stuff like that, what kind of things are you guys doing for the local, like local schools?
So local school districts typically will partner with someone to offer a before and after school care. A lot of times you'll see the YMCA, the YWCA coming in and doing a before and after school program.
Yeah.
Or you'll see a lot of our larger child care centers offering before and after school care,
Extended hours.
Or even our child development homes, they offer, as well. So if kids are in attendance there, they're typically bused, or maybe they go pick them up as well. Just depends on the bus routes and what's happening. But yeah.
That is a lot to unpack. Now, when we're talking about licensed, these people have people within your organization coming in to their homes.
Right.
And what sort of things are you doing when you visit homes?
Right. So I always describe us as Switzerland because we are
Neutral.
really in between. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
We're the supportive, happy people. So we're the folks that support HHS, Iowa Health and Human Services, the new DHS, versus the provider. So we come in, typically we will help them on anything that, sometimes it might be getting ready to renew their registration or license. So every couple of years, they have to renew. So we may be doing that. We may be coming in and helping them. Our big part, a lot of the work that we do across the state are quality initiatives. So if you've ever heard of the quality rating system, in Iowa, it's called Iowa Quality for Kids. So that's a quality.
Read about it.
Yeah, quality initiative where you apply to receive a rating, and it's voluntary, but that's a big piece of our work as well at CCR&R.
So now that rating, when these care facilities get that rating, what's the pertinence of that rating for parents?
Yes. So it's really the big piece of our Iowa Quality for Kids is the continuous quality improvement. So they're
Always
showing families that they're going above and beyond, but they're continuing to improve the quality of care that they support.
And that's what we want for everybody.
Exactly. Right? Yes. And it's a big system, and it is a lot of work. That's how I came to Child Care Resource and Referral. I was one of the first quality rating system specialists in the state when Iowa rolled it out in 2006, and then later, 6 years later, became the regional director. But now we've revised the whole system. So we've really developed this huge system that's now looks at quality and continuous, improvement. And it's very complex, but when the programs dive into it, they're doing what's best for families, staff, and it's work, but they should be proud of all the work that they're doing and show that. So
it's continuous work too, and that can get monotonous, but if you're focused on the good of families and kids.
Right, exactly.
It seems affirming.
Yeah. Another big piece that we do, too, would be training. So we have training specialists in our area, in our region, and she manages all the professional development in the 19 counties alongside of the local staff. So we can, typically, like last night when I was leaving the office, there was a training being offered that night. We do a lot more virtual now than we ever did because of COVID. But each provider has to have so many hours per year for their continuing. Right.
Gotcha.
So then we offer a lot of that. Our training specialist does a really good job and they all of them do across the state, but she really dives in with partners. And so we'll partner with Iowa State Extension. We'll partner with, different people just to offer a lot of different training to help them, and make it exciting as well. So it's not, I have to go to this training. No, we want to make, exactly. We want to make it fun and engaging.
Now, the child care workforce, I want to touch on that. Mm-hmm. Like everywhere else nowadays, it seems like we have a lack of a workforce. What's it look like in childcare? What are you seeing?
Yeah, it is. So we're in a childcare crisis, as we know.
As a parent, I want high functioning, highly capable, awesome people who love my kids.
Right.
It's a job, though.
Yeah. And it's a big job. So right now, our childcare workforce is probably some of the most underpaid workforce out there, honestly. And that's,
do you have like an average? Some of these.
So I would say right now in this county, you're going to see anywhere from $10 an hour all the way up to $14 an hour for like an assistant position, which would be an assistant to the teacher or a classroom staff person for a.
What sort of requirements are we talking about for that position?
So they have to at least be 18 years of age. If we do hire under 18, but they do have to have a supervision of an adult, depending on the age group that they're working with.
Gotcha.
CPR, first aid. There's a essentials class, just 12 hours of pre-service training. All those things can happen within the first 90 days of employment, so we can support that. Child development home provider, before they open their doors, they have to do all of their pre-service, so they have to have all those things completed.
So there are background and all that stuff that's done.
Background checks, fingerprint for federal, state check is done. Mandatory child abuse reporting training, universal precautions. Yeah. There's quite a list of things that they have to do for that pre-service side. Yeah. But then each year there's an amount of hours that they have to, receive each, as they are employed.
Yeah.
So it depends on if they're full-time, part-time. So that's another piece that director has to manage.
Phew.
I know.
There's a lot more that goes into it as thought.
Yeah.
At the state level, what are we trying to do? What sort of things to entice people to get into this career? Is there anything? What do you see?
Yeah, so many things. There is a program in the state that's called Teach, and they are a statewide where they offer scholarships for folks that are interested in becoming, going into the early childhood field. So that's a big piece. You can go and get your 2-year to your 4-year, and you can receive a scholarship and have most of your school paid for.
Which is very beneficial.
Which is huge. So we definitely promote that a lot. There's also a wages program through that same organization. So if, like, for example, myself, if I worked in a child care center and I could receive a stipend because I had my degree and I was teaching in this.
It would help cover some of that cost.
The gap of what I was paid versus what I could be paid maybe as a teacher in a school district, right?
Absolutely.
So there's those pieces. A big thing that we've done in this area that I'm pretty excited about is we've partnered with the Waterloo Career Center to look at their early childhood program and the ways that we can get those kids exposed to childcare.
Very cool.
We have a field experience that is piloted out in child care centers right now where they do 80 hours of experience. Our ultimate goal is that then they're hired at the child care center beyond their 80 hours. Yeah. So they're hired halfway through.
And they already have a good basic knowledge.
And then ultimately, when they head off to college, let's then put you through the Teach and Wages program to move you through to do that.
It's a whole farm system.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're trying to really engage, but also make it an attracting field. I mean, the thing with childcare and the whole, when you think about how a childcare center is run or even a child development home, they have one income coming in, and that's the fees from families. So I always describe it think of it as a single income household. You have one income coming in, and you're having to pay everything under that same roof. That's really tough then to continue to raise those wages.
All the time, yeah.
So you're looking for any type of outside.
When you're not trying to raise the cost for families as well.
Right.
There's only so much.
It's tricky. And the state has really, with COVID, there was a lot of relief dollars. So there was stabilization grants that came down to the programs. That was amazing. And then they've also rolled out a recruitment and retention program that staff can then apply for. So, or even our child development home providers. So if they're employed for like 6 months, they get a bonus. They employ, and so it just keeps going. So, I mean, not keeps going, but there's there's a couple steps to it. So that attracts them. There's a sign-on bonus too. Like if you come and you start working there, then you can get that pre-bonus. Then it goes to 6 months. So I think that's also helped a lot. But the thing we have to figure out is how we sustain them and how we help them keep growing the wages. And so we really need another source of income for them to help with that workforce side. And so everyone does it differently. Everyone fundraises or they'll do this, but is there something else we can do, to help these centers and homes as well?
So that's what you're working on now, is different streams of revenue. That's
trying to figure it out. It's interesting. To every childcare center is its own business. So, it's also trying to just find resources and ways to support them. The other thing we'd love to do is offer insurance and, benefits out to these people. So there is some events coming up that will help provide some additional information if there could be, ways to offer affordable insurance, because that on top of it is
a benefit.
A huge benefit, but for the program, a huge expense. So,
Now you are involved at the state and the national level with some of these things. What do you see at our local level? Do you have good support doing these things? What are some things we're working on here in Black Hawk County, Waterloo, Cedar Falls?
Yep, the Cedar Valley is like one of those places. I always say when I go drive to a meeting, maybe in Des Moines or somewhere else, I'm always so thankful coming back to the Cedar Valley because of just the collaboration that we have here. In 2018, we formed a childcare coalition that really looked at the needs of childcare.
Here, you formed
here locally. So we knew that we needed to bring more people to the table, and a lot of it was just we needed to educate about the needs of childcare. And you kept hearing like businesses needs, you kept hearing community needs, you kept hearing family needs, you kept hearing all of this. And so it was just a way to kind of bring everyone to the table. We started with a business survey to kind of really find out what it was the need for the businesses. We knew going into it, a local HR director had come to ask to meet with me, and now is a good dear friend of mine because he's been along for this journey. Once you walk into Mary Janssen's office, just don't ever expect for me never to contact you again. I think they can all vouch for that.
I love it.
But he was a HR director for a major manufacturer here in town, and he said, I am losing 5 staff a month.
Wow. At
$4,000 for turnover costs. And it's basically costing us $20,000 a month. Take that times 12.
Yeah.
And we need to, and it's those 5 people are based on childcare. I'm losing more than that based on transportation or other pieces. But he said, what are the ways that we can work together? Like, how can I?
So a business owner comes to you with that dilemma. Holy crap.
HR director. Yeah. I mean, he's a young dad himself, and he is just like, here's the need, here's what we need to do. So he was a big piece of saying, we would love to have a opportunity to reserve spaces so that we could have affordable, reliable, quality childcare, right? So
this business would purchase spaces for its employees to use. That's a huge benefit too.
Right. So, and then at the same time, a local architect who is on the board. So Child Care Resource Referral here locally is housed through Exceptional Persons Incorporated, so EPI. So he's on our board at EPI, knows me from these board meetings, and we start talking about projects he's getting as for childcare. And so I basically bring him and it's Dan Levi. I bring him and Kyle together to say, hey, let's start talking about this a little bit more.
Makes
Plus
sense.
A local senator, because a local legislator, Jeff Danielson, former senator here, was very involved with the topic as well. So we all just started coming together to be like, okay, what are we going to do?
Because something needs to be done.
We have to be happening. And then we kept talking about Kyle's dream. Kyle was the HR director that had come to my door. Kyle Rode at the time, he worked for this manufacturing company, and we're like, we got to talk about Kyle's dream. Like Kyle has this dream, right? And so at that point, then the Women's Foundation statewide is rolling out a child care solutions tour.
Okay.
So we hold a tour.
So the whole state is feeling this crunch.
It's going like, yeah, it is just going crazy, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, and we knew we had to do something. But the other thing is we have so many great foundations in this area. So we have like Community Foundation. Yep. We have Guernsey, we have McElroy Trust, we have Racing and Gaming, we have all those folks that, you know, not every community has a group
Right.
of foundations like that.
Smaller communities, I'm sure.
Right. And they
left out.
really work with that nonprofit too. So how can we get them to the table? Not saying they have to fund everything, but
Yeah.
how can we also help, you know,
Well, and they
support
have the
their
needs.
work?
Yeah, they have the needs of childcare too. We're talking
right.
about giant corporations here.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really what then established that coalition. Once the Women's Foundation had done their like solutions tour, and we had one here, we really then took that meeting of that layout of what we determined was our need, and our needs were building and expanding. So we knew we needed more spaces,
Yeah.
right? Kyle's dream, we
Yep.
knew that. We knew we needed support and resources for the non-English speaking community, because
Absolutely,
there's
yeah.
we heard that loud and clear. Plus Kyle was able to say that from his work
Experience,
and
yeah.
even just all the other people that came to the table. We also knew we needed support for our current programs, and how do we continue to build them, but like as a director, like provide them mentorship and support. And so all of these things really we just kind of formed this group, and then we broke up into subgroups and really just started working. Now, up until COVID, we were meeting monthly, we were moving forward, we were doing really things. I think once we got to COVID, we realized our subgroups could just work really pretty powerful on its own as well. So that's kind of where that group stands right now, is that building and expanding group is obviously still working very hard, but other groups are kind of just, we know what we need. It's just waiting to find the right resources to make things to move forward. Some cool things that came out of the coalition. We saw expansion with local programs. We also saw director training that was developed in partnership with Hawkeye Community College.
Okay. So getting more people involved.
Right. So any director that's new to the field, they take this college course. Since that training started, it's been paid for because the Women's Foundation has provided funding for that.
Very cool.
So no one has to
come out of pocket
with semester credit dollars. So that's really cool. We have just really seen this collaboration of more heightened of child care resource referral, understanding us as an agency too, which is great. But also we saw the inception of a new child care center here in town. So again, we're talking about Kyle's dream. That then moved over to a planning team that formed a new nonprofit startup child care center.
Absolutely.
And we just opened February 20th.
And that is?
Cedar Valley Kids.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So one of our coolest things, we're very proud of it. We're very excited. It's been a lot of work, but our first business partner is Unity Point, and we're really excited to partner alongside of them.
Heck yeah.
Our first site is located on their campus at Alumni Hall, but then we'll build eventually over in the North Crossing neighborhood.
Okay.
So
you'll offer their employees childcare?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Man. That is like the best benefit to have when you're a parent our age. People that listen to this podcast are going to find that hugely beneficial.
Yes.
That's something that you hope to bring to more businesses within the Cedar Valley?
Definitely. And more has come. Mercy One is partnering alongside of It Takes a Village, which right next door neighbors. So that's been happening. It Takes a Village, once they built their first site, right as the coalition was kind of getting started. So that was kind of that first business childcare model, which was very cool. We've also seen other businesses like John Deere, I know, partners with the local program here to reserve spaces, and just many other, you see just little pieces. VGM's opening their first site on-site childcare in the next year.
Yeah.
They're partnering with a local childcare
So
program.
it is a huge need.
Yes, definitely. So I think the more as you can come together and work together on it and, support that business model, but also support the business need, we're only going to grow as a community.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we need.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's this new childcare facility. It's nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? soliciting donations or the fees that it costs for kids to come?
Right. So again, it's Unity Point is our partner.
Okay.
And so they've
Sorry, I kind of missed that.
No, you're okay. They've done a lot of support on the facility side.
Gotcha.
Together,
because they're going to be utilizing. That
Right.
makes sense.
Yep. So they've helped with, it's kind of, and each model can look different.
Yeah.
They applied for a grant this past summer alongside of Cedar Valley Kids to be their childcare partner, and that's how we're building North Crossing. They received a $2 million grant to build North Crossing. So
and those are state grants?
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
So it was a business incentive grant that Iowa Workforce Development and HHS put out together. Those were relief dollars that came down. So a lot of, you saw that in the last couple of years, some dollars that were put towards capital of childcare, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it is. So the board is a nonprofit board that runs the management of the child care center. Yeah.
Gotcha. To grow it and make it the best it can be.
We'd love to have sister sites. I mean, I think we'd love to
see
Cedar Falls have a site. We originally thought we would open our first site here. Western Home Communities has been a huge partner in this all along. Chris Hansen has always had a huge vision for it. So we thought our first site would be in Cedar Falls, but then Mayor Hart and a developer locally in Waterloo really got involved and knew about the idea. And so we were donated land by Ben Stroh, a developer here locally. And Mayor Hart was like really passionate about getting it in Waterloo too. And he's very passionate about that North Crossing, obviously, too. He's very passionate about all of it. So I think I really credit a lot of work that they helped do alongside of Unity Point and them
making shit happen in our community.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that is really exciting. And it's not saying I think next it would be very cool to have a site here. We'll see. We really just want to get our feet on the ground with this first site over there and go and then grow, but not get too far ahead of ourselves.
No, or you won't be able to maintain and get better like you were trying to always do. So the mission that you guys have basically is to help families find quality, affordable, awesome, amazing childcare. And you're the middleman between families and the providers.
And supporting those providers to provide that. And
top-notch quality care in our state.
Right.
I'm sure it helps that with the funding and stuff that our budget's good right now. I'm sure it's been harder than it is right now.
Right. Oh, definitely.
As far as getting funds.
Right.
The future, hopefully that's something that we continue to value and put money into. Definitely.
I mean, you've seen Governor Reynolds has really invested a lot of time into childcare. She had a task force in 2021. I sat on that task force. From that, there's been so much work that has rolled out throughout the state.
What sort of things were talked about on that? The lack of?
Right. So there was subgroups. There was a regulation subgroup that looked at regulations relating to childcare.
Within the industry?
Right. There was a workforce subgroup. There was a childcare assistance subgroup, so anything relating to that assistance provided for families affording childcare. And then there was a business subgroup where a lot of business members were on that, what their needs were and how we supported that. And so all of us spent 100 days, I told you this, 100 days on Zoom, because it was really in the midst of the pandemic too. We were just kind of slowly coming out of that pandemic, so about 3 times a week, I would sit on different meetings from April till July to get to work on, and we basically would have speakers, we would hear information. We had priorities that we set immediately, and then we had to set our goals, and we had to release our plan to the governor. And then from there, she, what she approved and wanted to move forward, and then released her report. And so a lot of that, there's been a lot of work and looking at, the challenge grants came out, different pieces for the business side of it, the business incentive grant came out to support the businesses. So you've just seen every little bit, build from that. And it's kind of fun to sit back because I sat on that and I'm like, oh, that was part of the task force. Oh,
that would be cool.
Yeah. And when people are like, why is this all like, what is going on with all the attention around childcare? I'm like, well, remember that task force?
Yeah.
This is all, that was then the support that she could have in order to roll some new things out. But she's also done a lot on her own as well, too, is just kind of having a vision as well. So.
Oh, yeah. pays to have people who think it's an important thing.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
As a father of 4, I am definitely one of them. I shared a little bit about you with the trouble in us years ago trying to find child care. Thankfully, I have done the stay-at-home dad gig, but it's a real thing. You know, it affects a lot of the people listening to this podcast.
For sure. Yeah.
So I'm super excited to have had you here. Before we get out of here, though, we have to do the firing range.
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous about these.
You shouldn't be. Are you ready to rock and
I
roll?
hope you didn't ask Jackson and Kaden for some firing questions.
No secret crazy ones. I'm not that mean. This episode of The Firing Range is brought to you by Nick Cool. If you want to radically transform your life and take back your health, check out Nick Cool. He's all over my Facebook. He's one of the sponsors of this podcast. His next cohort get-together, learn more about health and how that can benefit you, is April 11th. Write that down. April 11th. If you're interested, contact Nick Cool for more information. Ready to rock and roll?
Let's do this.
The first one is, are you taking chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
So you start it super easy.
100%.
Hot coffee or iced coffee?
Ooh.
That one can't be the hardest one, Mary.
I know, but I love them both so much. I'm going to go iced coffee, though.
One. Dishes or the laundry?
Oh, laundry.
Are you a planner or spontaneous?
Spontaneous.
Would you rather learn or teach?
Teach.
Are you a phone call person or text message?
I love a good phone conversation.
Driver or passenger in a car?
Driver.
Sleeping in or waking up early?
Waking up early.
Test the waters or are you diving straight in?
Diving straight in.
And the last one, tigers, Hawkeyes, or peacocks?
Oh,
what are you taking?
Peacocks all the way.
Hell yeah. Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time. I have nothing but amazing things to say for you. Thank you for always having my back and being the first one to say good things about the podcast. I appreciate the hell out of you.
Of course. Thanks for all you do.
Have a great day, Mary.
You too.